There are moments in parenting when silence speaks louder than words. When your child withdraws, not out of rebellion, but out of something deeper you can't quite name. You provide, you protect, you give your best, and yet something still feels missing. In the stillness of those moments, a quiet question arises. Could my child be carrying more than just their own weight? What if they are reflecting parts of me I've never dared to face? Buddhism teaches that our children are not blank slates, but mirrors of our inner world, echoing our joys, our wounds, and our unspoken truths. Parenting then becomes less about shaping them and more about seeing ourselves. In this video, we'll journey inward through the sacred connection between parent and child, not to judge, but to heal. Stay with us until the end. What you discover may not just change your view of your child, but your understanding of your own heart. You noticed it not in a scream, not in a tantrum, but in the stillness. Your child, once playful and curious, now quiet, not rebellious, not misbehaving, just distant. Their laughter, once effortless, now feels like a memory. You try everything: kind words, discipline, rewards, space, and still, they seem far away, as if they're behind an invisible wall you can't reach through. It's painful, confusing, even frightening. You begin to wonder, have I done something wrong? Have I missed something? Buddhism doesn't rush to fix the child. It invites us to pause and look within. Zen teaches, do not ask why the water is bitter first. Examine the cup. A child, like an empty bowl, absorbs the emotional atmosphere we pour into them. Not only our spoken words, but our tone, our sighs, our silences, our hurried footsteps, even the tension we try to hide. A child doesn't need to be shouted at to feel the weight of our unresolved pain. They sense it, they carry it, and without knowing why, they begin to retreat, not to punish us, but to protect themselves. This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. The most devoted parents can still pass on quiet storms, anger we've never voiced, fears we've buried, expectations we didn't realize we placed. A child's silence can be the echo of everything we've never said out loud. And in that silence, they're not broken. They're overwhelmed. Their stillness is not defiance, it's absorption. They don't know how to express what they haven't yet understood. True transformation doesn't begin with correcting the child. It begins with the parent creating a space of calm, presence, and unconditional safety. One evening, simply sitting beside your child, not to teach, not to fix, not to fill the silence, but just to be can shift everything. Breathe beside them. Let your stillness speak the words your heart never could. When you allow yourself to feel what's long been buried, your child feels that release too. As the Buddha taught, you, yourself, as much as anyone in the universe, deserve your love and affection. Healing begins not when we change our children, but when we show them a different energy to breathe in, one that's lighter, calmer, more loving. Your child's retreat is not a rejection of you. It's a call back to yourself. And perhaps the most sacred gift you can offer them is not a solution, but your sincere presence. A presence that says you don't have to perform. You don't have to explain. I'm here. I see you. And we'll breathe through this together. If this reflection speaks to your experience, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be the light someone else needs. And if you'd like to journey deeper into this space of healing and conscious parenting, Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Awakening Insights, and gently ring the bell. This is a place where your awareness becomes your child's freedom, and your presence becomes their peace. Not every child retreats. Some push back loudly, constantly. They argue, challenge, reject every instruction with sharp words or stony silence. You ask them to do something simple, and suddenly it's a debate. You try to explain. They shout. You try to connect. They roll their eyes. Family labels them defiant. Teachers say they're ungrateful. Strangers whisper, something's wrong. But rarely do we pause and ask, what is this child trying to protect? Rebellion is rarely about disrespect. It's often about survival. When a child pushes back, it may be the only power they've ever known. Behind the yelling and the slammed doors, there's often a voice that was dismissed too many times. Don't talk back. You're just a kid. You don't know enough to have an opinion. And slowly, their spirit, once vibrant and eager, learns that speaking calmly doesn't work. So they raise their voice. They fight not to win, but to be seen, to not disappear. Buddhism reminds us what you resist persists. A child who feels unheard will only grow louder, more volatile, more distant. Not because they're bad, but because they're scared. Fear, when silenced, transforms into fire. That fire might look like disrespect, but it's really a flare saying, see me, feel me, I matter. The healing begins when the parent stops fighting back and starts listening not to words, but to the pain beneath them. Sometimes the turning point isn't found in firmer rules or longer lectures, but in surrender. One day, a mother sat beside her daughter, not to discipline her, not to lecture, but simply to say, I don't know how to help you, but I want to learn. Show me what hurts. And in that moment, the armor cracked. The daughter didn't yell. She wept. Not because she lost the argument, but because she finally felt safe enough to stop fighting. Children need boundaries. Yes, but they need compassion more, especially when they act least deserving of it. Rebellion is not a threat. It's a signal. And a wise parent sees through the anger to the ache underneath. Zen invites us to return to the beginner's mind, a mind that doesn't assume, doesn't control, doesn't dominate, a mind that receives the child not as a problem to fix, but a mystery to meet. When we release the need to win, we make space for the child to soften. And in that space, healing begins. If any part of this reflection reminds you of your own child or your own younger self, you're not alone. There's no shame in having struggled, but there's great courage in choosing presence now. We welcome your voice in the comments below. Share a memory, a realization, or even a quiet moment. You never know who you might be helping. And if this journey speaks to your heart, subscribing to Awakening Insights keeps that connection alive. Because healing isn't a lesson, it's a shared remembering, and we're honored to remember with you. There is a particular ache in watching your child struggle. They try and still fall short. The grades don't improve. The teachers begin to give up. Friends mock or pull away. Relatives offer quiet judgment masked as concern. You, as a parent, begin to doubt. You ask yourself, have I not taught them well enough? Did I fail to motivate them? Should I push harder? But what if failure isn't always what it seems? In Buddhism, there's a teaching that each being carries its own natural path like rivers that carve through rock, not by force, but by persistence in the direction they were meant to flow. Not every child is meant to excel in the systems we place them in. Not every gift fits neatly into a school report. And what we call failure may in truth be a redirection, an invitation to look deeper. One father, watching his son fall behind in every subject, chose to stop asking, "Why aren't you getting it?" and instead asked, "When do you feel most alive?" The boy paused, then said quietly, "When I build things with my hands." That evening, they didn't study math. They built a birdhouse. Slowly, the boy smiled again. Slowly, he began to ask questions not because he was forced to, but because he felt seen. 6 months later, the grades began to rise not from pressure, but from confidence. This is the heart of healing. Not force, not pressure. Recognition. When a child is constantly measured by what they lack, they begin to believe they are the problem. When they're compared to siblings, classmates, expectations, they begin to shrink inside. But when they are seen, truly seen, for what lights them up, a different kind of growth begins. The kind that starts from the soul outward. Zen reminds us, do not try to mold the flower. Just tend to the soil and let it bloom. Children, like flowers, thrive when we care for their environment, not by reshaping them, but by honoring their nature. And that begins with noticing not what they fail at, but what makes them come alive. If your child is grown now, and you remember times when you pushed too hard or missed their quiet gifts, there's still space for healing. Even now, your words carry weight. A simple phone call, a letter, a memory shared can open doors long closed. What matters most isn't what's been missed, but what you're willing to see now. We invite you to take a breath and reflect. What did your child love that you may have overlooked? And more importantly, what did you love as a child that no one saw? Share your story below. Let this be a space where we remember our children's light and our own. And if this message feels true to your journey, we welcome you to subscribe to Awakening Insights, where healing is not about fixing the past, but honoring the present moment with gentleness and grace. There are times when your child shrinks from praise, as if they don't believe they deserve it. Compliments roll off their shoulders. They make jokes about themselves, dismiss kindness, hide in oversized clothes or silent discomfort. And you wonder, how can someone so loved not feel lovable? The answer often lies in places we least expect, not in what we've said to our children, but in what we've said to ourselves in front of them. Children learn self-worth not through lectures, but through reflection. They absorb our energy long before they understand our words. If we criticize our bodies, they learn to doubt their own. If we downplay our talents, they question theirs. If we constantly strive for perfection, never allowing ourselves rest or grace, they learn that self-love must be earned through suffering. Even in silence, our inner dialogue becomes their atmosphere. One mother saw this in her teenage daughter. The girl avoided mirrors, rejected praise, and never once said anything kind about herself. The mother could have tried to convince her with more compliments, more logic, more reassurance, but instead, she did something small, something sacred. Each morning, she stood beside her daughter, looked in the mirror, and said 3 things out loud. I forgive myself. I accept myself. I love myself. At first, the daughter rolled her eyes, But after 40 days, she whispered the words alongside her mother. After 60, she said them first. Zen teaches words create worlds, like the wind carving stone. Daily thoughts shape the soul. This isn't about ego. It's about modeling inner kindness. Self-love doesn't mean perfection. It means presence. And when we show up fully for ourselves, our children begin to see themselves through that same lens of softness. It's not what we tell them about their worth. It's what we show them about our own. Healing generational patterns isn't loud. It doesn't always involve dramatic gestures or deep conversations. Sometimes it's as gentle as pausing after a mistake and saying aloud, "That's okay. I'm learning." Or choosing not to shame yourself in front of your child for forgetting something. Or sitting quietly with your hand over your heart, offering yourself the very compassion you once withheld. As adults, especially those of us entering later chapters of life, we have a chance to change what our own parents couldn't. Not by blaming them, but by becoming the example we never had. If you've ever struggled to love yourself, know that your healing isn't just for you, it's a legacy. And if you've ever longed for your child to see their beauty, their strength, their light, let that recognition begin inside your own heart. We invite you to take a moment today to look at yourself with kind eyes. And if you feel moved, share in the comments. What's one way you're learning to be gentle with yourself? What might your child see differently because of it? And if these words feel like home to you, consider subscribing to Awakening Insights. This space is a quiet garden where compassion grows one breath, one reflection, one soul at a time. Some homes have everything: clean floors, folded laundry, dinner on time, report cards on the fridge, and shoes lined up at the door. From the outside, it looks like the picture of love. But inside, something is missing, something subtle but deep. No one ever says, "I'm proud of you," unless it's attached to achievement. Hugs are rare, or always initiated by the child. Conversations are efficient, but never slow. Everyone is cared for, but no one is truly felt. Children raised in homes like this often become what the world calls successful. They get the grades, win the awards, follow the rules. But inside, they carry a strange emptiness. They do everything right, but feel nothing at all. As adults, they find it hard to rest, hard to receive love, hard to be with themselves, because they were taught how to function, but never how to feel. One young man broke down during a graduation celebration. Everyone clapped. Everyone smiled. And he whispered, "Why don't I feel anything?" His parents looked confused. "We gave you everything," they said, and they had. Everything except warmth, except softness, except those unplanned moments of just being together without an agenda. Zen reminds us perfection without presence is a golden cage. A child raised in order, but without emotional nourishment, grows up fluent in performance, but foreign to intimacy. They learn how to achieve, but not how to connect. How to succeed, but not how to feel seen or loved for simply existing. But here's the truth: no matter how long ago the childhood was, healing is always possible. You don't need grand gestures. You don't need to fix the past. You need only to begin now with presence. The next time you speak to your child, whether they are 15 or 45, try asking something simple. "How are you really?" And then stay. Listen. No judgment, no advice, just presence, even a moment of real attention, offered freely, can become the hug that was missing all those years. One genuine sentence, "I'm proud of who you are," not just what you do, can begin to unwrite decades of quiet longing. And if you see yourself in these words, not with guilt, but with recognition, know that your awareness is powerful. Your capacity to reflect and reconnect now is more meaningful than any mistake made long ago. Your love, offered today, still matters deeply. We invite you to share in the comments, what's one thing you wish had been said to you growing up, or one thing you wish you had said to your child sooner. These stories carry healing not just for us, but for each other. And if this message touches something in you, subscribe to Awakening Insights. Here, we believe that even in a quiet life, love can still speak. And it begins with the simple, sacred act of being present, truly present for the ones we love. As we get older, we begin to see more clearly what we passed on and what we wish we hadn't. We see how patterns repeat, how silences echo, how pain travels through generations like a story retold without words. Sometimes we call it personality or parenting style. But Buddhism names it for what it truly is, karma, not as punishment, but as memory carried in the body, in the voice, in the home. And the good news is karma isn't fixed. It isn't fate. It's a thread. And with awareness, we can choose where it ends. There are 3 doors we must walk through if we wish to truly heal the emotional inheritance between parent and child. Not to perfect the past, but to free the future. The first door is energetic awareness. Long before your child hears your words, they feel your presence, your tone, your tension, your timing, the unspoken things. A child can feel when love is pressured, when care is conditional, when anxiety hangs in the air like fog. Zen calls this nonverbal karma, what you pass on without speaking it. Healing begins here, in presence, in a breath, in slowing down enough to notice your own emotional weather and choosing to shift it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. The second door is emotional modeling. Your child watches how you handle stress, anger, sadness, not just how you behave toward them, but how you treat yourself. Do you blame yourself constantly? Do you apologize when you're wrong? Do you rest without guilt? These small moments become blueprints. If you want your child to show self-compassion, they must first witness you practicing it. One quiet act of honesty can undo years of emotional confusion. The third door is spiritual surrender. Your child is not your reflection. They are their own soul, walking a path you cannot predict. And the more we try to mold them into our image, the more we block who they are meant to become. Zen teaches let go of your opinions, and the truth will reveal itself. Sometimes, the most loving thing we can do is stop trying to fix and start witnessing. Sit beside them, not above them. See them, not through your expectations, but through your heart. These 3 keys, awareness, modeling, surrender, are not steps to complete, but invitations to practice. Every day, a little more softness. Every moment, a little more presence. Healing doesn't require control. It requires courage, the courage to change what we can and to love what we couldn't. If any of this resonates with your experience, we invite you to pause and reflect. Which of these doors calls to you most right now? Your insights are welcome in the comments. And if you're walking this path of healing between generations, know you're not walking alone. Subscribe to Awakening Insights and continue the journey with us. Together, we can turn the weight of inheritance into wings for our children and for ourselves. It's one of the most painful thoughts a parent can carry. I should have done better. Looking back, we see the moments we missed, the harsh words we wish we hadn't said, the hugs we never offered, the silence we never broke. We remember the tantrums we met with anger instead of patience, the questions we dismissed out of exhaustion, the tenderness we postponed for later and later never came. And now, the child is grown. Their shoes no longer clutter the hallway. Their voice comes through the phone, not the kitchen. Perhaps they live across town or across decades of misunderstanding. You wonder, is it too late? The answer, spoken gently and clearly, is no. It is not too late. Not when it comes to love. Not when it comes to healing. Buddhism teaches that karma is not a prison. It is a pattern. And patterns, once seen clearly, can be rewritten. That means your story is not finished. Your role is not over. You are not defined by your mistakes, but by your willingness to meet them with honesty and grace. There is a quiet kind of courage in a parent who says, I see now. There is strength in writing a letter after years of silence, in placing a trembling hand on your grown child's shoulder and saying, I'm learning how to love you better. There is healing in simply asking, what was it like for you growing up with me and truly listening to the answer? Your transformation does not require perfection. It requires presence. And the beauty of presence is that it can begin at any age, in any moment. Even if your child is no longer here to hear the words you wish you'd said, they live on in the way you speak to others, in how you hold your grandchildren, in the peace you allow yourself to feel after years of holding it all in. Healing travels in all directions, forward and backward. You may never know the full impact of one act of softness, one brave apology, one quiet shift in the way you carry love. Zen reminds us before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about bringing new awareness to who you already are and always have been. So no, you're not too late. In fact, you are right on time. You are not a footnote in your family's story. You are the turning point. You are the beginning. If this final reflection speaks to your heart, we invite you to carry it forward, not as pressure, but as possibility. Share your thoughts in the comments. Let others witness your insight. And if this journey has brought you clarity, healing, or even a little hope, consider subscribing to Awakening Insights. This space will always be here for you, a quiet light, reminding you that it's never too late to love more deeply and live more fully. Parenting doesn't end when our children grow up. It transforms from teaching to listening, from shaping to understanding, and from fixing to simply being there with more presence, more softness, and more grace. If this journey through reflection has stirred something in your heart, let it be a beginning, not an end. Healing isn't loud. It often comes in whispers. A small act of kindness, a quiet apology, a shift in how we carry love. You are not alone in this. Every story shared, every insight embraced, is part of a greater unfolding. At Awakening Insights, we walk this path together gently, honestly, without judgment. So if something here spoke to you, stay with us, subscribe, reflect, and share your voice. Let's keep opening doors, not just for our children, but for ourselves. After all, every healed heart becomes a light for another. And sometimes, all it takes is one light to change an entire lineage.